Good morning. Terraforma, we're so glad you're here. It's like social hour. Hello, hello, hello. Chatty Cathy's over there. Awesome. We're so glad you're here to worship with us this morning. And happy Father's Day to all the dads in the house. Yay! We're also glad you're here with us online if you're doing that. So would you please stand with us and join in worshiping this morning? I was buried beneath my shame. Who could carry that kind of weight? It was my turn till I met you. I was breathing but not alive. All my failures I tried to hide. It was my turn till I met you. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness to your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness to your glorious day. Now your mercy has saved my soul. Now your freedom is all that I know. The old name Jesus, when I met you, you called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness to your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness to your glorious day. I needed rescue, my sin was heavy, the chains break at the weight of your glory. I needed shelter, I was an orphan, now you call me a citizen of heaven. When I was broken, you are my healing. Now your love is the air that I'm breathing. I have a future, my eyes are open. 'Cause when you called my name, I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness to your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness to your glorious day. Woo! Y'all sound good this morning. is it to gain the whole world but lose your soul? What good is it to make a sweet sound but remain proud? In view of God's mercy, I offer my all and take my life, let it be everything, all of me. Here I am, use me for your glory. In everything I say and do, let my life honor you. Here I am, living for your glory. The road I'm on, it leads to nowhere without you. The life I live, it finds a meaning in surrender. In view of God's mercy, I offer my all and take my life, let it be everything, all of me. Here I am, use me for your glory. In everything I say and do, let my life honor you. Here I am, living for your glory. Seeking first the kingdom, seeking first the kingdom of my Lord. Seeking first the kingdom, seeking first the kingdom of my Lord. Take my life, let it be everything, all of me. Here I am, use me for your glory. In everything I say and do, let my life honor you. Here I am, living for your glory. And take my life, let it be everything, all of me. Here I am, use me for your glory. And everything I say and do, let my life honor you. Here I am, living for your glory. You unravel me with a melody. You surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies. Till all my fears are gone. Well, I'm no longer slave to fear. I am a child of God. Well, I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. From my mother's womb, you have chosen me. And you may be seated. Good morning, Terra Forma. How are you? Good. That video was going to last a little longer. I thought I was going to cry for a second. So, I'm Jamie,
and I'm Bella.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for being here today. If you're here in person, we have some donuts for dads after the service today for the in-person dads. So thank you. Happy Father's Day.
Yep. And the other thing that we have for you, those of you that are in person, is Vince's Mix. Now, if you know Vince Spinoso, he's a dad at Terra Forma. Oh, there he is right there! That was good timing, Vince. Good job. And we have used this in our family. It's seasoning that you can put on kind of everything to make it taste better. So if you are online, you can put in the chat that you want the recipe and you can make it yourself. But everyone gets one of these, so enjoy that if you're planning on cooking today. All right. The other thing I want to bring to your attention, there's a lot of stuff going on, okay? So I can't list it all. You have to get on the app and pay attention to what's on there because I don't have time to tell you everything. But there are a few things I want to highlight. The first thing is we're just coming back from a retreat with all the youth. How was that, Bella?
It was super fun, crazy, and very messy, but a lot of fun.
Yeah, and there were 21 kids, 7 adults, and we had meal teams for every single meal where parents came and fed us, and it was so incredible. So thank you all for sending your kids. The fun for middle school and high school is not over, so if you haven't gotten involved yet this summer, or your kids haven't, please check on the website. We've got stuff going on with high school and middle school throughout the summer. This Friday night is
Worship Night, June 23rd. It's over at the Long's house. And it's super fun, so make sure you come to South Riding for that.
Yep, and if you want, bring your family. If your kids are old enough to worship with us, they're welcome to. Otherwise, Bonnie's got a great little play area in her basement for the younger kids. So please join us for that. If you want to draw closer in your relationship with God, this is a really great time where we learn how to worship and pray and just really try to hear from God in a different way that we are able to on Sunday mornings. The other thing is baptism is coming up. We've got a Terra Forma Moms Village coming up. And then we're going to do a couple of other activities, including the men's golf outing in July. Yes. So all of the information and registration, all that is on here. So please get into the app. And if you want to connect with us, if you're new to Terra Forma, we would love to connect with you. So get in the app, fill out the connection card, and enjoy this Sunday. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day. Thank you.
My gosh, it worked. Hey, don't freak out. I'm you. You are me. I'm from the future, and I only have but a few moments to tell you these really, really vital things that's gonna help us. Okay, so just listen. Wait, how did you get here? And like, what are you wearing? Oh my gosh, were you not listening? I said I only have a few moments. God, I'm so chatty. Okay, fine. What do you have? Okay, first thing. As soon as I leave here, the first thing you have to do is you've got to invest all that we have in this thing called cryptocurrency. Oh, like, you mean like Bitcoin? Yeah, that was like super popular. It went way up and then kind of fizzled out in 2021. Great, so we already missed our wave to get rich quick. Awesome. Okay, next thing. You should leave here and get toilet paper, get booze, get a lot of booze. Find some hobbies, get some N95 masks, get all the things you can get, because literally in just a short amount of time, everything's gonna shut down. You're gonna be stuck in your house because there's gonna be a worldwide pandemic. Yeah, no, that was nuts. That was 2020, by the way. And yeah, we learned a lot of lessons, but I'll tell you what, the toilet paper probably wasn't the biggest of all the issues. Okay, all right, so this is not working out that as like I imagined it, okay. Okay, third thing, all right. So like we incurred a lot of late fees on our rentals at like Blockbuster. Listen, in the future, you don't have to worry about those at all. Everything is on your television, literally at your fingertips. You can watch whatever you want at any time. Blockbuster doesn't even exist. Are you talking about Netflix? Yes, I'm talking about Netflix. Okay, so you already know about that. Gosh, okay. Seriously, you're from the future. Shouldn't you have way more better information on this? What are you gonna talk to me about next? MapQuest? Online baking, or I don't know, something silly like dial-up internet? I mean, really? There's that humor of mine. Still funny. Okay. Well, get this, big guy. I'm from 2025. 2025? That's literally like a couple years from now. You're not even that far from the future. Oh, really? Okay, so I didn't calculate that exactly. Well, you know, I tried. Technology is still kind of new in the future, and I did time travel, so I would think you'd be a little bit grateful. But, you know, anyways, well, you know what? I do have one tip for you. Remember that rash you've been ignoring and, I don't know, debating whether or not you should go to a doctor? Here's a little advice. Maybe you should go, because it spreads, and it's gross, and people don't like it, and it has a scent, okay? So, good. Peace out. Where did he go?
Oh, good morning, Terraforma. Happy Father's Day to all the dads in the room. We appreciate all that you do. It's funny because, you know, growing up in church, the like normal pattern of this day is like Mother's Day happens and we're like, moms, we love you. We can't do it without you. You're amazing. And there's some kind of sentimental sermon about how great you are. And then Father's Day would roll around and it was like, dads, do better. Like, what is your problem? And so we don't want to do that here at Terra. We don't want to dad shame at Terraform. We want to say thank you to our dads. We appreciate you. And it was actually in a moment there was in a meeting about Terraforma specifically, somebody had said, you know, something like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. We're talking about serve teams or whatever. And somebody had mentioned that a bunch of the moms were all getting away for a getaway together. And our assumption as a staff was because all the moms were going away, it meant the dads wouldn't be able to like get their families all to church, you know, kind of a thing. Like, oh, the moms are gone, the dads it'll be like a low Sunday. No, every one of those dads whose moms were away, every one of them at Terraforma Church got their kids to church, and almost all of them were serving that morning. Okay, come on, dads, let's go. That's some good dad work. We're a different kind of church here. Was thank our dads. We're in the middle of a series right now that we're calling Unsolicited Advice from Your Future Self. And we're talking about that very idea. What would future you tell you if future you could come back and tell present you a few things? And I think that your future self knows something that you know now, but you're ignoring it. You know it already, and you know it's true, but you're ignoring it because I don't really know why we're ignoring it, but we are ignoring it. And I think if your future self could come back, I think your future self has adjusted one relationship specifically because it's needed. I think that we as a culture are on the verge of a massive shift of reckoning with just how harmful one of the relationships that we all entertain is. And I think in the future we'll know better. What I think we already know instinctively now, we'll know practically in the future. And your future self would come back in time. And I think your future self is going to tell you that your relationship with this little box that you keep in your pocket needs to change. I think in the future you know that like your relationships aren't where they need to be. And your brain is actually being harmed on some level because this little gateway to everywhere else is constantly present, it's constantly chirping, it's constantly there, and this is the deal with this and every other screen, is that they are portals to elsewhere. And so I think the advice your future self might give you this morning, I think it's good for dads, it's good for moms, it's good for teenagers, it's good for everybody in the house today, is just this. Be present. Be present. I fear as a culture, we're losing the ability to be able to inhabit the same moment, even though we're occupying the same physical space. We're losing things like shared focus and sustained attention. We're losing the ability to actually go deep with people, to listen well, to have eye contact, to ask good questions. We are so good at being distracted, and our brains are struggling to keep up with all of the different stimuli in our world. It used to be said, this is like in 2005, they estimated that the average person saw 3,000 ads a day. That was in 2005. Almost 20 years later, think about this for a second. If in 2005, now think about where you were and what you had in 2005. That's actually pre-smartphone for some of you. That's like maybe you had a BlackBerry. How dope you were with your BlackBerry. You were so impressed because you could answer emails on your mobile device. What a day that was, 2005, right? Think about now. Just think about this for a second. Think about what this means. I mean, work never ends. And somehow, all of us went through, and even if you had like a good work-life balance figured out, then this global pandemic happened, and then it was obliterated. The boundaries, whatever we had set up, were just completely demolished because we got used to basically working whenever, wherever, all the time, in our pajamas, at the dinner table, at home, in our home offices. All this stuff got kind of jumbled, and I don't think we've ever quite said it right. I think that it's almost like every time these distraction boxes take a little bit of ground in our lives and over our focus, we never reclaim it back. We never set the balance scales right again. And we're suffering as a result. Our culture is suffering. There is an epidemic right now, and psychologists and school administrators talking about this, and people aren't sure what to do. And here is the epidemic. There is a measured loss in empathy with emerging generations. Like something's breaking as a species. Human beings are losing the ability to show empathy. And think for a minute about how empathy works. How empathy works is nonverbal cues. It's when you're talking to me and I nod my head. You're doing it right now to me. You're doing it. I'm communicating with you and you're just nonverbally saying, yes, I hear you. That's how empathy is communicated. It's like, this touch that happens when somebody's struggling across from you and you reach out and touch them. And we have this situation now where some of us are trying to navigate work-life confrontations. We're going to correct an employee for bad behavior, and we're going to do it over a Zoom call, and you cannot communicate all of the empathy you can. Some of us are used to having meetings where important decisions are being made, and everybody has their cameras off, and all you can hear are their voices, or even to the point where we're now breaking up with people over text message. Teenagers, please hear me if you're in the house today. If you're in Gen Z in the house today, I want to help you understand this. I know that is how it's done. It is not an adequate vehicle for communicating human emotion. It just isn't. We aren't evolved enough for you to be able to have hard conversations on text message. Stop it. I want you to stop it. When I was a youth pastor, I would have this situation where teens would text me all these deep, heavy things, and I would say, you got to call me. And they would say, oh, no. I call you? I can't call you. Why would I call you? Just text. Here's what I want you to get. This form of communication, it's because it allows us to maintain elsewhere all the time, even when you're somewhere else. And I soon figured out, trying to talk to teenagers, they're having heavy conversations with 4 people on different text threads all the time, while they're supposed to be like at dinner with their parents, talking to them, and they're really talking to everybody else all the time. And here's what ends up happening. You end up kind of giving a shadow of yourself, a shadow of your attention to whatever conversation you're having at the same moment. And I know this is true because sometimes, you've experienced this, you accidentally send the message to the wrong person. Oops. You ever done that? You want to know my worst text fail ever? I sent something completely intended for my wife and her alone to my mother. I mean, it was supposed to go to her and her alone. I did it, you think I would learn my lesson? I did it another time to my friend Jeremiah. Which was, my mom pretended she didn't see it, thank the Lord, and hopefully maybe she didn't, I don't even know. I've never actually talked to her about it because I don't want to know, but avoiding it. Jeremiah, no such luck. He screenshotted it, saved it, sent it back to me and said, I think that was meant for Jamie. He's like, I will never forget this. Like, well, thank you. That's great. We are in this moment in time where we're not quite sure what to do about how do we reclaim the ability to inhabit the same moment together. And I think sometimes what might need to happen is, in order for us to get back to this level of presence, we're going to need to put boundaries around our devices again. And we've tried this, you've tried this, we tried it in our house, and you've tried this in your life too. And here's the problem. You always need to revisit those boundaries because they get creepy. They get, it's like these phones, these devices, these screens, these computers, it all has a way of pushing your boundaries over and over again. Then you reset it again. And we're learning, everybody's learning. I want to be clear. I don't think that your technology is the enemy here. I just think it's a tension we have to learn to manage. It opens up beautiful gateways for communication. It opens up beautiful avenues where we can connect, but we have to be willing to connect for real and to go deep. And we need to reclaim some ability here, some new cultural fluencies, and how do we focus on developing as a skill our presence to be with one another. The Apostle Paul in the book of Romans is outlining at the end here this beautiful picture of what it means to live with a renewed mind, to reject the way of our world and to live in this, allow God to transform the way we think so we can behave in a new way. And in the midst of this kind of beautiful, he's reciting, live with a renewed mind where the image of Christ begins to be written over top the image of the patterns of this world, and we're transformed in his image. He gives this little short thought, and I think it's just so beautiful. This is in the 15th verse of Romans 12. He says, rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourn with those who mourn. Oh, you've been given this gift, and it feels like such an extravagant gift. The gift of your presence. You've been given the gift of someone else's sustained attention. You've been given the gift of shared focus from someone else. They gave it to you. You needed somebody's attention, and they did it. And it wasn't like kids saying, look at me, look at me, look at me. When my kids were young, I noticed a pattern when they were playing. Anytime I had they'd be on the playground or doing something. If I had my phone out, it was like a threat to their little psyche. I heard a lot more from them like, Dad, look, Dad, look, Dad, look, Dad, look. It was almost this perceived competition for my attention, where if I put my phone away, as little kids, they were more settled in their play. They got a lot less like, hey, me, look at me, look at me, look at me. Our dog does this. The minute you turn the TV on, our dog is like, but guys. I exist. I'm here. I like to be pet. And give me some attention. Our dog knows somehow, in her little dog brain, she knows that thing on the wall is the enemy. They don't play with me when that thing's on. You know, and it's like a battle. She knows it. She gives it the side eye. TV. If she could reach it, I think she would do something to it. She knows. We have to reclaim this. We have to get better at this withness. Give people your presence. Be with those who struggle in a way. And you would never do this in person. You would never be so distracted in person. Never, when you're dealing with somebody who's in tears, never would you be checking your email. See, somehow, we as a culture, we've evolved. We're trying to figure out, like, for productivity's sake, everybody can stay home from work and everybody just works in the Zoom meeting. And all the studies have shown that nobody is completely focused in these online meetings like they should be. You just watch people, they're checking emails, doing this, everything. I do a lot of marriage coaching that way. It's so convenient for me to do that. I'm doing marriage coaching, and I have asked couples before, like, hey, I want you guys to sit next to each other in the same room when we do the marriage coaching. I mean, you have to understand, sometimes when you're doing marriage coaching, they don't want to be in the same room. They're actually so angry and disconnected that she'll be upstairs in the bedroom and he'll be downstairs in the basement, and they'll be doing marriage coaching in the same thing. And I want to tell you, in one call this year, we're teaching them about connection theory and how to be there for each other and how to be present in those situations. And when someone reaches, how do you respond? When someone breaks down and shows raw emotion, how do you show up for them? And this beautiful moment happened actually last year. And this person's crying we're like Zoom or Google Chat or whatever, and one person starts crying. The other partner I see, like, he finally is getting it. And he gets up and he leaves the frame. And he goes up, and you see the bedroom door open in the other box. And he goes and puts his arms around her, and he's present with her. He's with her in the moment. He finally has figured out, like, oh, wait, she's crying. That doesn't mean, like, I just sit here and go, well, see? She's crying again. I don't know how to handle this. This is an emotional outburst. What am I supposed to do right now? This is how it went before. And now he's up there. He's with her. He's put his arms around her. And they start, like, having a moment. And I just sort of, like, quietly was like, okay, guys, well, we'll pick this up next time. Like, bloop. Like, I felt like I was invading a private moment, and I'm like, I'm just going to let you guys figure this. This is good stuff, right? There's a withness that is required for intimacy and trust to develop. There's a withness that is required for relationships to go deep, where you can mourn and cry with those who are struggling, and you can rejoice with those who are celebrating. And there's something you can give to the people in your life, and I think your future self would like to remind your present self, not that you're a terrible person, but that one of the things you could do to go to the next level would be to readdress those boundaries with this digital distraction box and all the little digital distraction boxes, all the portals we have to elsewhere and everywhere but here. Sustained attention, shared focus, be present with people. Presence is the bedrock of civility. I just believe this is true more than ever. I believe that, even in like the checkout line, I find myself in the checkout line, like as if I don't have any moments to waste. Used to, you'd sit there and they'd be bleeping groceries and you'd have a little chit-chat moment with the checkout person. And somehow, over the years, I've evolved into the kind of cave troll that doesn't actually talk to them anymore. Now I just pull my phone out and I do like important work while they're bleeping my groceries away. And then I have to be reminded, like, oh, you put your phone away and do it. And I had this moment where I realized, like, what am I doing? This is terrible. This is completely uncivil. There were arenas in our culture where small talk used to happen. They're gone now, like on airplanes. You used to, and I want you to understand, if you're in like Gen Z, this used to be one of the most uncomfortable things in the world. You used to have to make an alliance with your seat neighbors on an airplane. You had to come in because you're going to be occupying the same tiny, 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 tiny space for an undetermined length of time. You're stuck together, so you used to have to actually say, like, this is me on an airplane, just so you're wondering. I used to have to say, hi, I'm Justin, just so you know, I'm not manspreading and occupying the armrest out of choice. I'm enormous. I'm going to occupy your space and my space. It's not my choice. Well, I guess it is my choice. A lot of my choices over time, but I can't fix it today. Okay, so sorry. Let's be friends. And now what we do instead is we all look down and we're all focused on our little devices and we all can ignore each other. Noise-canceling headphones in, blindfolds on. What are we doing? We're missing civility. Some of us don't even know our neighbors anymore. And the real answer, if you get to the why behind that, it's because you don't need to. It's because you have so many gateways to elsewhere that you don't ever need to be here and now, present in the moment, in the same space, occupying this, and learning to inhabit together where we are. And so we need to get this right. I got 3 thoughts on this today, and these are skills we can develop. Number 1, listen carefully. Listen to each other. Learn to listen. Cultivate this. Become a better listener. Even if you think you're a good listener, I bet you can get better. And I'll save you a lot of money. If you went to like parent coaching classes and you went to all these, what is the one thing you can do as a parent to be a better parent? And I'll just tell you right up front, I know a lot of professional parent coaches, and this is what they would tell you. You're going to spend a lot of money and a lot of time, and at the end of it, you're going to walk away and they're going to say, listen to your people. Just do it. Just do it. Just listen. Just sit down and do this. Somebody challenged my wife when we had little kids. She said to one of her patients who was elderly, what is the biggest lesson you would give to a young mom? And this patient said to my wife, that you get on the floor and play with them every single day. Get down on the floor to play with them every single day. And it was this big challenge for us. I miss those days. My kids don't really get down on the floor and play anymore. And if I get down on the floor to play with them, I have a hard time getting back up. Now, it's more difficult. But those moments of I'm going to be with you. We as a family try and create environments where we can just talk. We have drives in the car where we actually will turn the radio off or turn the, whatever 15 podcasts we've got going and there was one moment on a road trip where literally we had 5 different entertainment devices going at one time in the car. And there might be time for that. But do you want to know what happens when you allow boredom some space? You give boredom some space, you learn things about dreams. You learn a whole lot about struggles. You learn a whole lot about stories. So we started doing that as a family, like just focused time where we'll shut it all off and we'll be with each other again. And the kids will say, I'm bored. And we've started to answer them, good. I'm bored. And we've started to say, well, good. And Dietrich said back to us recently, it's not good. You keep saying good. It's the opposite of good. It's terrible. I'm super bored. Well, we know. That's good for your brain. How is it good for my brain? We don't need to get into that today. But listen carefully. Listening involves, again, that shared focus and that sustained attention. It involves all these nonverbal cues like eye contact and nodding and empathy. Here is the good news about the empathy epidemic, the lack of empathy in emerging cultures. After 5 days, this is a Duke University study, after 5 days with no devices, they see a measured increase in the return of empathy. Think about that just for a second. It takes 5 days unplugged for you to become a human again. Wow. Guys, something's wrong. I think our future selves are going to look back on the ubiquitous presence of the smartphone like our present selves look back on cigarette ads. There was a moment in time in my grandparents' generation where everybody smoked cigarettes. This was a thing. It was just everybody did it all the time. We used to go to this restaurant called The Dice with my mom's parents. And I remembered at The Dice, they would ask when you came in, smoking or non-smoking, as if it mattered. As if that was a thing. We're going to go to the non-smoking section. Guess what? Because there is a smoking section, the whole restaurant is a smoking section. And we kind of learned hey, secondhand smoke is probably giving people cancer. It's probably not a good thing. We should probably do. And our culture has made a dramatic shift in evolution. Now, there's still smoking in the world, but it's not like it was. I think there's going to be a seismic shift at some point in the future when we recognize probably the very presence of always connected, always plugged in, always there is hurting us in a way that used to hurt us. And your future self has made the pivot. They've made the adjustments. And I'm not saying throw it away. I'm really not. We're trying different things in our house. We do odd and even days for screens in our house. Like on odd days, we don't do screens. On even days, we can do screens. And even there, we're now setting time limits on the screens. And that was a funny conversation. We said, hey, on even days, we're going to put a time limit on screens. And this is what we said to our 10-year-old. It's going to start with 3 hours of screen time on the even day. Now, the older people are like, 3 hours? That's crazy. You know what? He thought it was crazy too, but for a different reason. Only 3 hours? We thought that was like a generous, number. We thought, wow, that's like an extravagant amount of screen time. And he was like, no. And he budgets it with like a little timer. And this is a big thing. This is a big problem. Listening is a skill. We've got to practice. You got to practice having conversations with your people, listening for what's really there. I've had to learn as a man that sometimes what I think I hear and what she meant to communicate aren't the same thing. I've had to learn. I've had to learn to listen between the lines. I've had to learn. Often, it's funny because you said this, but I have a sneaking suspicion you meant that. And I've had to learn now. Here's what I've learned. In active listening, you can invite more assertive communication from the people in your life. When you say, hey, I think you're getting close to naming a need here, but I'm not sure I hear it. Your needs matter to me a whole lot. What is it that you really want? Well, you're right. I do want something. I thought I was mad about this thing, but I actually think I'm mad about that other thing instead, and all these other things that go with that other thing. Okay? It's good. Active listening. Become a listener. Listen carefully. Tone doesn't come across through text message, and we need to learn this. We just need to stop doing it, okay? I want you to take a pledge with me. Stop having hard conversations on text message. Just stop doing it. Just stop it. It isn't ever good. I know it's easier. I know sometimes there's no other option. And please hear me, never break up with somebody on a text message. Just don't do that. Give them the civility of taking them to a public place and embarrassing them there. I don't know if that's the best method either. I don't know. Maybe that's bad advice. But I just know because I've had hundreds of hard conversations on text that oftentimes I'm misunderstood. That my tone doesn't come through on a text message, and it might seem callous, or I don't mean it to. Where if you were sitting across from me and I could grab your hands and say, dear one, you don't need to do this. On a text message, that doesn't sound as good. It sounds like, why are you behaving like such a fool? Okay? It just doesn't work. So be listeners and communicate. Give each other the gift of presence. Number 2, learn courageously. I think your future self wants to talk to you about some things you're avoiding. Some growth areas, some hard conversations to have. I think you're running from some things in your life and story, and your future self wants you to knock it off. I think there are some problems underlying some of your relationships, and you're hoping they will just go away. And because it's going to require some growth from you, it's going to require some evolution from you, and so you've just decided, I'm not going to deal with that because it sounds difficult. And so because it's hard, you're going to avoid it. And here's the problem. The longer you let it go, the harder it will be to finally deal with that issue. So I want to just challenge you to learn, grow, own it, be present. Be present with your problems. Be present with the things that aren't going so well. Your future self will thank you if you sit down and keep your accounts short. If you sit down and face it, have those hard conversations. Be willing to collide. Man, I'm telling you, in your marriage, in your friendships, in your parenting, your willingness to collide with people around you is directly related to the connection that you will enjoy. Your willingness to say, I'm going to have the hard conversation. I'm going to say what I've been putting off that I've wanted to say. You've let some things fester for months and months and maybe years, and it's not helping you. Learn how to show up for your people. Learn how to have, if you can't have productive conflict, learn. That's a skill you can develop. You can both get better at it. Well, all our fights end in slammed doors and unresolved conflict, and we never actually get around to the problem. Learn. Well, guess what? That's a growth area you can now address together. And the faster you address it, the faster you can get back to developing connection. The faster you can actually learn, hey, if you have a situation where I just can't talk to my teenager, I just cannot talk to my teenager. Every single time we talk, it just ends in this bad thing. Well, okay. Here's advice from your future self. You can keep going the same way you've been going and getting the same exact results you've been experiencing. How's that working for you? Or you can learn something new. You can try a new technique. You can try something different. My wife and I have had this with our, we love our kids. We love them, we love them, we love them, we love them. Dear Jesus, we love them. We love them. But we're not perfect parents. And so because we're not perfect parents, we don't have perfect children. It's our fault, kids, I know. We did it to you. We made you the way you are. You're welcome. We've had to bring in experts to help us unpack some things, to learn some new skills. We've had to deal with counselors who can tell us, and then you have to do the thing where the counselor's like, I need to talk to your parents right now. It's like, well, I thought you were going to fix my kid. I thought they were the issue. And they're like, well, guess why they are the way they are. You did some stuff. You got to own your part. Okay, I get it. Learn what makes the people in your life unique. Learn about how to love them, how to fight with them, what their dreams are, what they long for. Learn how to show up for your people. And the last one, love deeply. I think your future self would like to tell you that. Love deeply. Go there. Go there. I took my son away for his 10th birthday on this kind of vision quest. It was actually his 9th birthday. We in our family do these kind of like moments, these rites of passage. And so we decided that our initial plan was to do it at 10, but our oldest, it was like 10 wasn't going to be soon enough, so we made it 9. And then for the other two, it just stayed 9 years old. So on their 9th birthday, we took them away for like this, kind of vision quest thing. And people in their lives wrote them letters and this kind of, what do you want to be? This is your, beginning the journey toward womanhood or manhood. And I took my son at 9 years old away to talk about what it meant to be a man. And he's 9. And I didn't know what this was going to look like, everything. So I told him, listen, we got 4 talks over this whole weekend you and I are going to do together. And at some point, we're going to do these 4 talks. They're about 10 minutes long each. You pick when we're going to do them and in what order. And he goes, give me the first one, Dad. Hit me with it. I said, all right. So I said to him, D, we're on a train heading to Mystic, Connecticut. That's where he picked to go. I said, you can go anywhere in the world you want to go. I don't care. We'll figure it out. Where do you want to go? And he goes, Mystic, Connecticut. Why? I don't know. There's a sea lion there I want to see. Cool. We went to Mystic, Connecticut to see a sea lion. It was dead when we got there, but it really was. It just died. It was very sad. But there were other sea lions, that was fine. And I said to him, Dietrich, I said, what do you think it means to be a man? Just out of curiosity. He thought about it. And I love that he thought about it, because that was good. He doesn't often think before he does anything. But in this case, he did. He was thoughtful. And he said, well, he goes, I think you can still be silly. And he looked at me like for confirmation. I said, yeah, you can definitely still be silly. Totally. And he said, but when it's time to show up, a man shows up. I'm like, that's it. That's the whole thing. We're good. Everything. Just do that. Can you just do that? Because wow, holy cow! Like that. I'm like, we're making T-shirts. That sounds like a whole website. There's a movement here, buddy. Like that is it. I'm like, wow. Man, love your people deeply. Love them. Show up. When it's time to show up, show up. Be present. Be in the moment. Nobody in this room struggles with this as much as I do. I'm telling you, whatever your struggles are, I have struggles with this, deep struggles with this. I'm an Enneagram 7. It's always about next. It's always about whatever's going on. It's always about something else. It's always about, I need such a flow of constant entertainment and novelty that my family probably thinks I am just like this bouncing ball of distraction. I'm just always everywhere else. I mean, if you find me alone in my home when no one else is there, there's a podcast playing while I'm watching TV and reading a book at the same time. Just that's my normal thing. Now, my family has lots of rules because Paige will get overwhelmed or Jamie needs quiet and all these other things. And often I'm like trying to like sneak, like Jamie's trying to sleep and I'm like listening to a podcast while I play a game on my phone under the covers at night. And she's just like, Justin, what is wrong with you? I need sleep. And I'm like, put a sleep mask on. That's the wrong answer, just so you know. That is not what love requires in that moment. But this is it. Nobody struggles. But what if you could figure this out? What if your future self is telling your present self the truth? Just show up. Be present. Give the gift of your focus, your sustained attention to the people in your life that matter most, even to yourself. Show up for yourself. Show up and have those hard conversations about where you need to grow. You are not yet who you will someday be. You're on a trajectory towards that. And you can distract yourself from those things and find ways to medicate and pull your focus away. But what would it look like for you to say, no, I'm going to actually show up for me. I'm going to let Jesus speak truth to me about where I need to grow. Listen to how Paul wrote. Now, this is his favorite church. Paul was a church planter, and he planted a lot of churches all throughout Asia Minor. And they weren't all his favorites. This is how he talked to his favorite church. And I just want to tell you, Terraforma, you are my favorite church by a lot. So this is like, I read Paul's letter to these believers in this city, Thessalonica, and man, it's a beautiful, beautiful, he's talking to people he loves. And I feel his words and I'm like, yes. Listen to how he talks to them. He says, we loved you so much. We loved you so much that we were delighted to share with you not only the gospel, but our lives as well. I want to be with you. I want to share my life with you. I want to show up with you. What would it look like for us to be that kind of people? I'm not just going to talk at you. I'm going to be with you. We're going to do it together. We're going to share our lives with each other. We're going to be present and enjoy the mundane, the ordinary, and the extraordinary. The struggle, the celebrations, mourning when we need to mourn, rejoicing when it's time to rejoice. That is a beautiful way to live. And if we can let the love of Jesus determine the culture of our community on this level, I think it would be remarkable. I think we need to listen to our future selves. Let's pray. God, we love you. We need you today. Even as we talked, God, I'm sure our phones are chirping in our pockets. Even in these few short moments together, it happens. And sometimes that's good because sometimes it is shared focus and it is the way we share moments with each other and celebrate successes and voice our struggles. But sometimes, God, we need to know how to show up like face to face or shoulder to shoulder. How to be an empathetic, beautiful presence in the lives of people that matter to us. Thank you, God, for the people that have shown up for me in my story. Thank you, God, for the moments you've allowed me to show up for other people. What a privilege that is. I just pray for all of us, God, that we would learn together the fluencies of presence, witness. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, dads, for being here today. Thank you, everybody else, for being here today. We're going to worship together as we close out our service. We're also going to receive our offering. Thank you for your generosity. I just want to remind you, we're into summer right now. And so normally this is a time where churches struggle. We're trying to maintain our momentum here at Terraforma Church. And so as you give generously, I just want to thank you for that. One of the best things you could do for us this summer is set your giving to be recurring. So when you leave, because you're going to leave, we love that. Go on a vacation, I think it's a wonderful thing to do. Go be present with your people. But when you leave, you don't leave, So that's really good because our expenses are still there. And we're trying really hard as a church to maintain our momentum right now, to keep going in that growth trajectory. So we thank you for the way that you're giving as a church. We thank you for your generosity. Let's worship together as we close out our service. Happy Father's Day.
Before we do our last song, I just want to welcome my brother Ben on cajon. Let's give him a round of applause. He'll be joining the Terraforma band. And now we got a whole bunch of lassos up here playing. It's kind of my dream, so here we go.
We'll get the kids up here soon. I count on one thing. The same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God who's never late is working all things out. You're working all things out. And yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Yes, I will. I count on one thing. The same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now. And in the waiting, the same God who's never late is working all things out. You're working all things out. And yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Yes, I will for all my days. Yes, I will, and I choose to praise. Glorify, glorify the name of our names. Nothing can stand against, and I choose to praise. Glorify, glorify the name of our names. Nothing can stand against, and I choose to praise. Glorify, glorify the name of our names. Nothing can stand against, and I choose to praise. Glorify, glorify the name of our names. Nothing can stand against. Yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Yes, I will for all my days. Yes, I will for all my days. Yes, I will. Amen.
Happy Father's Day, Terraforma. I'd love to meet you if I haven't met you yet. Make sure, dads, you pick up some Vince's Mix on your way out if you didn't get them on the way in. And have a great Sunday, everybody. God bless you. Go in the peace of the Lord. If I have some people who want to help me, we have a couple things to load back on the white trailer. all our Christmas decorations got shuffled around for some youth retreat stuff. And so there's just if like 5 people did it, it would happen in like 2 seconds. So see Jeremiah to help with that after church, and we will see you guys next Sunday.